So here we go. Okay, so let's go. Everyone, thank you for joining. This is Kol Shira, and in partnership with Breslov.org. And we're going to see a beautiful piece from Likutei Halachos over here on the.
This meeting is being recorded.
Very good. Okay, we're going to see a beautiful piece on the parsha, and here it goes. Vayikach Korach. So Amar B'Sein Nazal in Bamidbar Rabbah. Korach einay hitatu. His eyes, he made a mistake. His eyes fooled him. Rosh shel shelas gedola yotza mimenu. He saw his offspring. He saw the offspring that was going to come out of him. And who was going to come from him? Shmuel. The holy Navi Shmuel. Who is Shmuel? Shmuel is the one that anointed David HaMelech, David Malka Mashiachai. Right? So he felt that wow, he saw in the future that Shmuel was going to be one of his descendants, and Shmuel was one of the greatest Nevi'im, right? And he figured, so I must be great. If Shmuel's going to come from me, I must be great. Excuse me. Okay, now. The Esrim V'Arba Mishmaros and the 24 Mishmaros that'll come, the ones that took care of in the base of Mikdash were the 24 Mishmaros. All came from Shmuel. Hainu ki ayidei zeh tov is labesh hayetzahara etzlai the mitzvahs kedarkoi. His yetzahara, we learned this concept before. The greater the person is, the greater yetzahara they have, right? Greater people have a greater Yetzirah because Hashem makes everything zelu mazeh. Everything is always balanced. So you can't have a bigger Yetzir Toiv and a smaller Yetzirah. You have a big Yetzir Toiv and a big Yetzirah that goes with the Yetzir Tov. Right? The evil side has to always be equal to the good side. So he saw, and he made the mistake as the Yetzirah Etzle b'mitzvahs kedarkoi. The Yetzirah made him make the mistake via mitzvahs, right? Ki sava shekvoid Hashem yisbarach ligalos ki meloi cholotz k'vayday ro liyas al yadai. He said that if Shmuel, he looked into the thing, and he saw that from Moshe Rabbeinu there was no great offspring. We never hear about Moshe Rabbeinu's children, right? We don't hear anything about Moshe Rabbeinu's children. But he saw for himself that things are so gewaldig, so Elias al Yodai, he said that the Kavod Hashem should be through him. Because every generation, the covenant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be revealed. Every single generation. And therefore we have to always leave over students and children. I said those are the exchanges from the person. When the Rebbe leaves the world, he exchanges, he makes the Khalifa with the student, with his children, and they take over for him. And as it brought down in Likutei Maran, in the second part of Likutei Maran, Siman Zayin in lesson 7, Al Kein Sava Shemayachashu Royim Imenu Yetzei Doiros Kedoshim Shel Tzadikim Keilu. And then since he was able to see that from him he saw Baruch HaKodesh, that from him was going to come out great generations of tzaddikim, Sheyagilu Kivoid Yizbarach Shehem Shmuel. And they're going to bring the covenant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu out to the world. And who did it better than Shmuel HaNavi? Bivadai Magia Loi Kol HaGedula. So he said that, hey, listen, all the greatness and all the everything is coming to him. He believed there was Alles Kum Samir. You know that they say Alles Kum Samir. Everything belongs to me. That's what he believed. B'kavod shel Nasias. And why shouldn't he be the Nasi, like we explained before? Right? Why shouldn't he be the Nasi? Why shouldn't he be the one in power? Ki be'emes, zeh atzadik shetzarech l'hayr adas HaKadosh b'olam, bevadei royu sheyeh loi kol hakavod sheyavoyu kol Yisrael elav l'chavdoi. That he believed like this, that because from him is going to come greatness, Because great people like Shmuel and the Esrim V'Arba Mishmoris are going to come from Korach. So he believed that, listen, he has to be honored. He has to be honored because from him is coming greatness. The exact opposite that we're supposed to work on bittul. We're supposed to work on nullifying ourselves, but he didn't understand that. He thought that the covet comes to him, and he said like this, because he's going to have great things coming from him, people will honor him greater if they know that he's a great person, and he has honor, so people will listen to him more. And then the more Kvod Hashem will come out from him. Amazing. It's amazing how, but again, we learned this is the Yetzer Hara talking to him. He's doing this, all the Yetzer Hara is seducing him and tricking him into doing this. But we know that what?
I think it's worse than that.
Worse than that? Go ahead, Yaakov.
You could say that something is tricking him, but he's allowing this process to take place.
Exactly.
He's a fool. He's got some seichel.
Of course he's got he was a brilliant man. He was a brilliant man.
So he's allowing this to happen. He knew better. He knew better. This is just like a Sitra Achra. It's bothering him. So Yaakov,
we learned, Yaakov, we also learned like this. We also learned in many lessons, we learned from the Nesiv Shalom over the years, we learned by many tzaddikim, that when we're being tested, right? When a Jew is being tested, so then he doesn't have his greatness with him. Because if the person has his greatness with him while he's being tested, really what kind of test is it? So he was a great person, but only we learned that when a person earns b'mesiras nefesh, when you serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'mesiras nefesh, when you serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu and you go the extra mile to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you get to keep and have during the test. Remember we learned that, Yaakov? We learned this concept over the years? Yeah. So look, so this is what happened with Korach. He didn't understand this. The Yetzer Hara was attacking him, and he thought that because again he had the nevuah. Korach had this nevuah, and he saw Shmuel's going to come from him. That's not stam. That's not something so simple. Shmuel Hanavi was one of the greatest Nevi'im. He was on the right track for understanding that. But to come and challenge Moshe Rabbeinu? Let's see what the Rebbe says here. Okay, now there's a common mekaymis bechinas kvoid chachamim yinicholu. The kvoid of the chachamim is the nachla, is their inheritance, is what's important to them. Whoever honors me will be honored. That's what Shmuel said. This is what it says in Shmuel. Ki mechabdai achabed. Ki me'achad shu oisik legalis kivoidi yizbarach. Bivadei royu shiyu loy kol hakovod shiyeh mechubad mefursim gadol v'yeh loy memsholav v'nesiyas. And because because he's going to be Isaac, he's going to be busy in revealing the Kvod Yisbarach, the covenant of Hashem. B'vaydai, it's for certain royu sheyil loy kol hakavod, that it's for certain he should have all of the covenant. Sheyeh mechubad u'mefursam, that he should be honored and he should be famous. Gadol v'yeh loy memshala, he should have his ruling, v'nesiyas, and his princeship. Kidei sheyuchal limshol ba'olam, so therefore he can rule in the world. Ulahadrich es Yisrael b'derech hakedusha, and he can guide the Jewish people in the way of kedusha lahayir, to show them, to illuminate to them das hakodesh ba'olam, this holy das in the world. And that's why we had many tzaddikim, many nesiim, right? Many nesiim and malachim and kings. They were very honored. Again, because when someone's honored and you see the greatness, So you listen to that person, right? We're more inclined to listen to somebody that's an honored person than to someone that's not an honored person, correct? Is that true? Right? If someone's an honored person, is a revered person, so that person is more likely that you're going to listen to. And we had that with the kings and everything else. Aval zeh tzaddik shemekabel hakavod. But this is what he didn't understand. But this tzaddik that's mekabel hakavod, tzarich sheyeh anav gadol. That person, he's getting the kavod, but he has to be an anav. In other words, people can be giving him honor, but he has to be the honor. He has to understand that really all of the honor belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The honor doesn't belong to any person in this world. Honor is not belonging to people. So a true tzaddik doesn't take the covet for himself. He takes the covet for the Rebbeinu Shalom. And he's an honor. Gadol, betachlis, bebechinas Moshe. Like Moshe Rabbeinu. The ish tzaddik nema. Moshe Rabbeinu. What was Moshe Rabbeinu? Sheyeh bayreach min hakavod. He ran away from honor. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want any part of honor. He didn't want any part of this. He was honored, but he didn't want it. He wasn't looking for it. He didn't need it. He despised it. He ran from it. And he never took the covet for himself. This is the point. This is the point. He never took the covet for himself. The covet was for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu, he gave all the honor to Hashem, and that's where the honor belongs with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The honor doesn't belong with people. The honor belongs with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oh, so what happened over here? Rak leman kivoday Hashem nizbarach. The covet only comes for the covet of Hashem. In order that the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be revealed and known on every generation. Now here's what happened, Chevra. Korach ta. And Korach made the mistake. And what was the mistake? He saw that there were going to be great tzaddikim coming from him. That'll reveal the covet of Hashem al yadam through them. And he thought that das, the covet that they had, he thought that das, that covet that his offspring will have, okay. And therefore he said he wants all of the covet. But again, the opposite of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was do the covet. He was rightfully do the covet. And Moshe Rabbeinu was bayreach. He ran away from the covet. But Korach, because he wasn't doing this l'shem shemayim, he was doing this for his own honor. He was doing this because he wanted honor. He wanted to feel the honor. His kavanah was not l'shem shemayim. He wanted the covet just for himself. He wanted to have the honor. He wanted to have the glory. He wanted the fame. He wanted it. And he was very strong-minded. And it entered into him that he would be the one that will rule. In other words, he believed it so much. He believed, he saw in his nevuah. He saw in the nevuah that Shmuel and the Yetzer V'Arba Mishmar are going to come from him. And he believed mamish that he's going to rule. And this is how he made that mistake. He made such a fatal error. Until he went against. He rebelled against Moshe Rabbeinu. The tzaddik ha'emes. Shemimenu kol hamshoches hadas hakodesh hazeh v'cholak olav. and he made a division. He made a separation with Moshe Rabbeinu. He was married with Moshe Rabbeinu. V'Omar, Kulam shamu misinai anoichi. Everyone heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. Everyone heard that. Remember, we learned from the Kedushas Levi that every time HaKadosh Baruch Hu said something, on the Neshama was sent back 2,000 amos, right? We were sent back 2,000 mil, right? It was sent back 2,000 mil, and then the Malachim they escorted the Neshamas back into our bodies. And we asked, why did the Malachim do that? Do you remember, Chaver? Why? Because the Malachim understood that it's only through Klal Yisrael that can they live. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the world and the Olam HaMalachim and everything only for Klal Yisrael. Only for Klal Yisrael. And they understood, the Malachim understood that if we're not going to bring the Neshamas back to Klal Yisrael, we're going to cease to exist. And that was the question, who gave them the right to touch the Neshamas of Klal Yisrael? The Malachim are not as holy as our Neshamas. Our Neshamas come from a much higher place. Who gave them the thing? They had, it was a pikuach nefesh for them. Amazing idea. Okay, V'amar. Kulam shamu misina enoichi. Ki'ilu kabbalas ha-Torah shu ika hamshachas adas yoshu kulam me'ava yiseyam. It was drawn from all of their fathers. Me'atzmam, from them. Shelo al yedei koyach shel Moshe Rabbeinu. They were saying, listen, it wasn't, in other words, we all was zeichet to hear this, the idea of Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. So, what's the big deal that Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the big deal? Korach said that Moshe Rabbeinu was responsible for it. We all heard it. Uvazet toyim harbe. So many people made this mistake. Gam b'doros eilu, also in these generations, Reb Nosson is writing. Kilu ha-Torah eleches b'Yerusha. As if the Torah goes to them in a Yerusha. Kayadua labikiyim kitzas ba'anhagas ha'olamata. That's known to those that are well versed a little bit in the way the world was running at that time. And Reb Nosson was talking about the Haskalah movement. He was talking about the enlightened movement at the time. And they were trying to say that, listen, the Torah is in our Yerusha, and since it's in our Yerusha and we own it, it's ours, so we can make changes. They made that mistake, and that's where the whole Haskalah came from. Rabbi Seinu Zal Amru Behepech, but our Chazal teach us the opposite. Kes Hashem Tov Munach Kol HaRoitzi Yava Yitol. Kes Hashem Tov is Munach, is placed. You have the Kes Hashem Tov. Kol HaRoitzi Yava Yitol. Anyone that wants it, come and take it. Viksiv of Lo Yisa Ba'ovan Haben. And the Navi Yecheskel says the Av, the father, Lo Yisa Ba'ovan Haben, is not responsible for the Oven Ben. Lo Yisa Ba'ovan Ha'av is not responsible for the sin of the father. K'may Sherinu B'chol HaDoresh Shehayu Tzadikim Gedolim Harbe. They were great tzaddikim. Shayu Lahem Banim Rishayim. There were great tzaddikim that had banim, that had children that were rishayim. V'hayu rishayim harbe shayu lahem banim tzaddikim. And then we have this idea that many rishayim had children that were tzaddikim. Who's the greatest example of that?
Korach and Avram.
There we go. Terach and Avram, excellent Yehuda. And what about our friend Lavan that had daughters like Leah and Rivka, right? Right? And right. I mean, come on, this is a mamish amazing. Mamish amazing. These ideas that these people came from them. It's amazing. Right? We have this idea, Rishayim Habe Shoyalem Banim Tzadikim. Don't say, that's Pirkei Avos teaches us. In Perik Beis and Mishnah Yud Beis. Don't say that the Torah is Yerusha. It doesn't belong to us. We learned from the Holy Zohar HaKadosh. The Reb Shimon teaches us that Yisroel, V'araisa, V'kuchabriku Kulay Chad. We're all one. We're one unit. Now, for one unit, if we're one unit, how can I say that I have a Yerusha? What, I have a Yerusha on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chalila? Could someone say that? That since the Das and Emunah begin with our Avos, right? Avraham Avinu was the one that introduced the Emunah into the world, right? Everyone agrees with that, right? But they didn't have anything. They didn't have anything concrete that would remain with Klal Yisrael from every generation. Kimo Moshe Rabbeinu, alav shalom. Like Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, we had great people. Yes, we had great people. But those great people, the Avos HaKadoshim, were nothing like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the Torah. Right? We will ask on the beginning days. And here Kadover HaGodol Hazeh. V'afilu ata b'doirei sha'acha matan Torah. And even us after matan Torah. And even us, in our generation, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us tzaddikim all the time. Great tzaddikim. And those great tzaddikim teach us what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from us. The great tzaddikim. In every generation, Hashem sends us different tzaddikim that give us the message that we need for that generation. Ukemuvan la maskil mikol amasiya she'avru b'Yisrael b'chol dar ad hayom hazeh. All of the things that happened, that transpired with Klal Yisrael from all of the different generations until today. The Korach pagam b'zeh. Korach had a pagam. Korach had a mistake. He made a blemish in this. Ma'oid, mechma shetzafa l'dairos. Because he gazed, he saw ahead the dairis, kedoshim sheyetzu mimenu. So he said, I'm a great guy. V'alkein savashu hisig hadas. And therefore he thought that he attained the das HaKadosh. V'rotza lahavin hakol. He wanted to understand everything. V'nichnas b'kushiyos. He came into these big questions. Shehem l'mala me'azman. That are greater than time. Until he became a kaifer baker. Amazing idea, Chavra, on this idea of what Korach, to understand the inner meaning of what Korach, his mistake was. How Korach was a great person. And Korach thought so much so, that because greatness is going to come from him, he thought for sure he needed greatness. And because he needed greatness, he challenged Moshe Rabbeinu. And again, the main thing is, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah says, is Anav Mikol Adam. Moshe Rabbeinu was Anav Mikol Adam. What does it mean Moshe Rabbeinu was Anav? He was the most humble of everybody. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was Bayreach Min HaKavod. Okay, so everyone, does anyone